You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
And now your host of California MUFON Radio, Lorien Fenton.
Welcome, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here on Inception Radio Network, and as you all know, it is the home of the most famous app in the world, the one with the UFO, the alien, the lightning bolt, and the microphone. Can't miss it. So I hope you're all going there and grabbing that app and getting it on your phone. I don't know what I'd do without mine. I swear to you, I live by my IRN announcements. It's so wonderful. I don't miss a single show on IRN that way. So I hope you're doing that as well. Well, I'm supposed to be reading you guys the new information on the new MUFON journal that came out. But to be honest with you, I got home. I had some things to take care of that were vitally important. And what they were was I was finalizing my Teespring campaign. And I just wanted to let everybody know that Joe just texted me in Skype to let me know that all is a go. If you visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, you will find there's a banner there that says, do you want to own a California MUFON tee or hoodie? And if you do, and I hope you all do, I really do, you'll be able to purchase it by clicking on the banner there on the IRN network. That's InceptionRadioNetwork.com. And that banner will float up at, several points during the show. I'm sure of it. And it's on the homepage. And just click on that and it'll take you to my Teespring campaign to raise enough funds to get me out to UFO Symposium this year to do live broadcasting for 3 days, plus the Wednesday night before, plus maybe some special interviews just for IRN's Insider Club that I'm trying to put together there. And if I can pull it off, and it may not be this time, folks, it may be at International UFO Congress when we do our next Teespring campaign, I might be able to pull off some video live feed. So I'm not sure yet. I think it's a little premature for UFO Symposium, but definitely by the time International UFO Congress happens, we'll be able to pull something off like that. I'm sure of it. So anyhow, your support by buying a t-shirt or a hoodie, and I made them as low a price as possible, making very little off of the t-shirts and the hoodies through the Teespring campaign, so that we could, get you guys a good quality product at a low price and also raise enough money to get me there if we sell 100 of these. So, folks, I really need your support. I would never ask this if I didn't need it. And that is the honest to God truth. Life throws a lot of bowls of cherries at you. Some have syrup and some don't. But, the fun part is ever since I broke my arm in July, things have not been financially as wonderful as they might be for me. So I just don't have enough funds personally to pay my way to get to all these conferences this year. But with your help, and you get a t-shirt or a hoodie for this. It's amazing. So with your help out there, and I know a lot of you will help out, and I really appreciate it. So go to the banner, and I think the URL, if you just want to write it down, is teespring.com/CA MUFON Radio. That's short for California. So it's CA MUFON Radio, and that's a / after Teespring, and that's TEESPRING.com. And if you go there, we can get me to those conferences, and I will be happy to work for all of you. And believe me, folks, I don't often say this, but I spend the whole conference. I never see a speaker. I never get a chance to see the speakers. I spend the first day there before everybody really arrives, running around trying to get a production schedule going. And then after that day of working, I end up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I schedule broadcasting live for at least 4 hours each day for 25 minutes per speaker with a 5-minute break in between. So I just keep going and going. And some days we go 5 hours, some days we go 6. It just depends on, who's there, what we're doing. And then when I'm not doing the live broadcasting, I'm running around the conference chasing people down like George and Nori to sit them down and say, give me 5 minutes of your time for the Insider Club at IRN. So those are the kind of things I do for you guys, and I love doing it. So it is, it's a work of, it's not a burden by any stretch of the imagination, and I really am thankful that all of you out there support me in doing this, but it is work nonetheless. So by supporting through the T-shirt fund, you're actually paying for me to go to work. So that's what we're doing out there. So yeah, and it's a lot of fun at the conferences, and I do hope you guys make it. I hope you buy a T-shirt and then you can make it to one of these conferences and meet me in person. What I'd like to do, and I haven't really talked to the gang at the station about it yet. It's so funny. What I do is I go on air and I announce all this stuff, and then later on they're like, why did you do that on air? Why didn't you ask us first? But what I'd like to do is I'd love to get some of my listeners and IRN listeners that are at the conferences. I want to sit you guys down and do a couple-minute interviews with each one of you about IRN. And then maybe you guys can become the advertising for the Insider Club. It'd be a lot of fun. I'd really enjoy interviewing you guys. So if you can make it to either UFO Symposium, which will have a banner up on the website pretty soon about the whole thing, and where you can connect to get to it. And I can tell you right now, it's USA StarWorksUSA.com. Boy, there you go. That took a while to get out. StarWorksUSA.com. And if you can't find it through that, if I have it incorrect, try just typing in UFO Symposium and it'll come up for you in the Google master search engine of the universe, the AI controller of the Matrix. So just get into Google and you can find anything. So there you are, folks. So that's what's been going on. So I'm hoping that all of you out there will get a California MUFON Radio T-shirt. I can't wait to get one. I'm getting one for myself. I'm going to wear it while I'm doing the shows. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay. So there we are. Okay, now I have an amazing guest with me tonight. We started kind of late. We had a little bit of some glitches going on there, but all worked out well. And since we started late, I'm not even going to try to get into the MUFON stuff tonight. I couldn't even bring it up right now if I wanted to. Too much going on. So I'm going to bring him in. It's Marc Cossette. Now, Marc, as you all know, is a friend of Phil Kava, who is a special guest here on Inception Radio Network on the California MUFON Radio Show quite often in the last 6 months. And, oh, there it is. Yay. I just saw it. I'm going into the chat room right now, and I just saw own a California MUFON tee or hoodie. Yay. Wonderful. I did a good job on that banner, by the way. God, I love the colors. Okay. So back to reality. Marc is with us, and he had some amazing stories about his seeing. I don't know what it was. We'll have to go back and revisit that experience that he had. It was the bird that morphed into the sideways bowling ball with the little veil on it, and all kinds of strange things have happened to Marc. And I wanted him to come on the show tonight by himself and just tell us all about the amazing experiences he's had, because, folks out there in the big old UFO community, people like Marc are the people we really should be listening to, because that's what's happening right now. It's happening in the UFO community. And I really, really believe that people like Marc need to get out there, talk about it. And, it's hard for them because, the interesting thing about the Oh boy, now I'm having computer problems. Okay, we're going to make this go away. Give me a second, folks. I've got some pop-ups telling me that I have some issues here. So I'm just going to close the window and hope for the best and see that everything goes forth. So anyhow, as I was trying to say, people like Mark, it's very hard for them to talk about what's happened to them because, usually, and we'll have to ask Mark about this, is that I know from my experience that I wake up every day and I have to keep reminding myself that I saw what I saw and it was real. There is some kind of mechanism that I truly, absolutely believe now that if you'd asked me 5 years ago if this was true, I would say, I don't know, I don't think so. Now I absolutely believe it. And I believe that they put a mechanism in our minds that somehow gets us to forget, not talk about, and erase the experiences we've had with the other beings from the other dimensions. And that's just my opinion, folks, but I absolutely believe it now. I am dead certain that that's what's going on. They can put so much into our heads, and they can make one person see Jesus. They can make another person see Fabia, the long-haired, good-looking guy from the romance novels from, the 80s. I mean, they can make anybody see anybody they want to see, or they can just let you see them as they are. So I'm just, very grateful that people like Mark are willing to come out, talk about their stories, and get it out here on the California MUFON Radio Show. So without another second of delay, Mark, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for having me on, Lorien. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And I just want to let everybody know that if it wasn't for Phil, I would never have met you. And Phil is just an absolutely amazing guy. And I owe him a phone call, and I'm going to call him in the next couple days. So there you are. So, Phil, if you're listening,
hi, Phil.
I'll be calling you. So there we are. So Mark, how are you doing? What's been happening? And, more than anything, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, what you're doing, how this all kind of started happening for you. And then a little later, probably after the first break, we'll have time to get into that first sighting that you talked about here on the first time you were on the show. Okay. And then we'll go into some other sightings and things that have, interactions or sightings or whatever you want to call them after, probably in the second hour. How's that sound?
Yeah, it sounds perfect.
Great. Okay. So first off, you just go right ahead. I'm going to try not to interrupt you.
Okay, no problem.
And let you just talk for a little bit. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so, I'm from Montreal in Canada. I'm 45. I started seeing UFOs or lights in the sky anyways about 35 years ago. I was seeing them. I didn't really know what it was. They were just lights in the sky. I guess like many people, I would think. Maybe I thought they were satellites. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on with that. Never really thought I had anything to do with the phenomena per se. I thought I was mostly just witnessing things. I was taking some time to look in the sky. It was resonating. Didn't feel any communications per se. All I thought was just these things were around. The sightings increased a lot in, I would say, maybe 2007 when I started seeing some on a more regular basis. Started seeing what people refer to as fake planes and stuff like that, especially close to the airport, because where I live in Montreal is pretty close to the Dorval airport. And that's it. I started noticing things. What happened is one night I was riding my bike in the area and I saw a light that was close to a building. So I approached just to check it out, and the light quickly, it was close to an apartment building, and it just moved away and started like going the other direction. That's when I started paying a lot more attention on a regular basis on what I was seeing. My friends were starting to see things as well. It wasn't necessarily that it was because of me, because I was just telling them, what, you don't believe in UFOs? Why don't you look up in the sky? And I'm sure, some listeners must have similar experiences as well with these luminosities perhaps in the sky. I don't know. I think
right.
And I think people have different experiences. Some people see solid ships. I've seen solid ships. I've seen, but what I was mostly witnessing was lights, lights, and again, not lights that would approach me. So I didn't really feel
Yeah.
like it had anything to do with me. However, I've come to understand that if you see things, or if you've seen things, the beings per se that are the cause of these luminosities or whatnot are totally aware of every single time that you see them. So it's not a coincidence, and as we stated in the last show, and as you said even earlier on, a group of people could be there. There is a luminous sphere in the sky, and some people don't even see it. So it's an interesting phenomena. So if you've seen things, I'm addressing the listeners. If you've seen things, or if you see things on a regular basis, there's something in this for you. And the key thing, and we're going to get into this during the show, is that it's an invitation for contact, for conscious contact, because they are interacting with us on a subconscious level. These beings, anyways, the ones that I'm in contact with, are beings that are working a lot to heighten the awareness of people and the consciousness. There's something global that's going on. I'm not saying that all the beings that are being seen, or all the whole UFO phenomena has to do on that level, but a lot of these beings are actually what we would relate to them as spiritual beings. Not spiritual in the way that they're not physical, but that they're there in the hierarchies, and they're there to assist us in some way. So a lot of, I've noticed, and I've ever since my contact of 2010, I've seen a lot of a lot. I mean, I've seen on various occasions luminous spheres, large luminous spheres approach cities. I've seen this in Peru. I've seen this here as well, in which they stay, they stay stationary, and they're emitting light, and they're sending light to the people while the people are sleeping. And it's not a trickery. It's not to make them slaves of them or anything like that. It's actually for people to receive a type of an upgrade in consciousness, in a way that it's accessible for them, for the individuals receiving this, which, I think that they're really doing this for everyone. I'm pretty positive that if we go in all major cities across the world, we would see that this is happening on a daily basis.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely amazing, Mark. It's very interesting you start talking about consciousness, and what your statement was earlier about how some people can see it and some can't. Why do you think, I know you kind of summed it up there, but what do you think the real thing is? Why can some people see it and some people can't? Now, I'm one of those people who can't see them. I was only shown one maybe, and we're still not even sure if that's what I saw. I saw three glowing, ember, like fire ember, circular lights in the sky in a triangle formation. And then they were beaming a helicopter sound either into my head, or the helicopter was really there as well. I still don't know to this day, and I may never know.
It's a really complex thing. I don't know myself. I mean, I was with a friend of mine at some point in Ville Saint Laurent, which is a little suburb in Montreal, on the island of Montreal. Daytime, we're sitting outside, we're having a coffee at a little terrace or whatever, and there's this ship that comes up. I mean, this is a physical object that's morphing its shape, and she's not seeing it. And I mean, it's clear as day. There's nothing else in the sky. And she's seen lights, and she's seen other things. She doesn't have a very good eyesight, but she's seen things that were way further than that in the past with me. She's noticed luminosities in the daytime. Why wasn't she seeing that? I don't know why. And people were passing down the street. They were wondering what I was looking at, because it was just phenomenal. And they were seeing it, but she wasn't seeing it. And I mean, it passed over a building. It was so easy to see. And
she had seen them before, correct?
Yes.
See, but now that I don't get that.
I don't either. I really don't.
Oh, see, now these are the questions that I really think we all should be asking right now is why sometimes, why not others? Why can some people remember? Why do people forget? And maybe maybe she was actually seeing it, but her brain wasn't letting her acknowledge it. There may have been that even going on too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I strongly suspect something like that is
Yeah.
happening. And I think that in some cases you see something, you see an object, and there is this personal exchange happening with the object and you. I can't prove this. This is just an impression.
Hmm.
And from then on, you will never see that again because it can
Oh.
take a different. Okay, in 2010, we spoke about this offline, off the air. Sorry, last time,
Right,
Morgan.
right.
And I think it was April 2nd, and this could be verified if people just go to the door. If you know anybody that has access to the radars at the Dorval Airport, like personal knowledge, if any of the listeners have access to this, because I'm positive that, anyways, this happened. Okay, there was an object that got hit by a plane in broad daylight. It was a Saturday. It was a Saturday afternoon. It was about, I would say, maybe 5 p.m. I think April
Hmm.
2nd, 2010.
Right.
And what happened is this object came crashing down like on fire, and we heard a huge roar. And anyways, and I had my binoculars because I was sky watching. This was shortly after my first contact that we'll talk about in a little bit.
Right,
Anyway.
right.
And then from my position, this was still in Ville Saint Laurent. From my position, I noticed a light going between two houses, but it was the exact same color as the street lights at night. So I suspected it was maybe Hydro-Quebec, which is the local electric company, doing some repairs because I wasn't believing what I had just seen. I mean,
Hmm.
come on, you don't see a ball of fire just drop down from the sky. This doesn't make sense. And us, even experiencers, most of the time when we see something, we still don't believe what we're seeing. It's not because we've seen it before that we absolutely, we still think, is that a satellite? Is it a drone? Is it, I mean, like everybody else, we doubt what we're seeing. Anyways, and so what I did is I was on my bike, and I darted towards the street because I started seeing some smoke billowing, right?
Hmm.
Like, and this was like 2 streets away from me. So I couldn't see the object itself, but I could see something clearly that was related. Well, I thought maybe it was related to what I'd seen anyways. So I go on this busy street, and I noticed that there's a guy, because I'm looking for police officers, because as I'm turning the corner, I'm not going to do the stop, and I want to make sure nobody gives me trouble. I'm still not sure of what I just saw. Anyways, and there's a vehicle of the local security, that we have in all
Yeah,
the
sure.
areas of the city, and I wave at him and I go, "Did you see? Did you see?" And he goes, "What?" And as we turn, we see this cigar-shaped thing just zooming out from that street and trying
Right.
to regain control. And half of it is busted. It looked like an old air conditioning. You know how the back of those old air conditionings look like? It has
Yeah,
it's like those aluminum sheets
exactly.
or
Kind of
whatever.
finny looking with the coils and
That's
that type of
exact.
thing.
Yeah. So half of that is on fire, exposed, and the other
Wow.
half, and the other half is brushed steel. Okay. It looked like brushed steel. It's not smooth all the way around. It looked more like a hexagonal, anyways, that it's got edges. It's some type of geometrical form anyways. And it's trying to gain its composure, and, well, I mean, gain control of itself. And the
Yeah.
fantastic thing is there's cars on the street. This was the street called de l'Église. That's the name of the street, in case if there's people from Montreal listening. De l'Église and de Carey Street. And it passed over, I mean, what, 10 feet, 15 feet over the level of cars. This was really, really low. Anyways, and we started chasing it, and clearly it becomes a source of concern for the guy in the security truck because, this is a hazard for the people, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so this thing with the flames and the billowing smoke and everything, and it wasn't very large actually, which was kind of surprising. Like, was it a type of drone? It could have been, but if it was a drone, it was an anti-gravitational drone.
Right,
because
exactly.
it was able to I think it was emitting a force field. I'm not a technical guy, but when it appeared to be hitting the ground, it wasn't actually bumping on the ground. It was sort of bouncing off the ground.
Oh my
Okay?
God.
Yeah, and
God.
yeah, and it was trying to get away from where people were, clearly, and it leaped over buildings. Okay. And it tried to leap over the Carey Street, which is a pretty big street. It's probably one of the busiest streets in Ville Saint-Laurent. And it leaped over and went behind another building.
Oh my gosh. Hey,
yeah.
Mark, we're going to have
Yeah.
to stop right there. And it leaped over and went behind the other building because we're even our first break already.
Okay,
See
good.
how fast this is going to go?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, stick around. We'll be right back with Marc Cossette here in just a few moments. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here on Inception Radio Network, the home of my most favorite app in the whole planet. So get yours today because, it may go extraterrestrial any moment and you won't be able to get it. I'm just joking. You'll always be able to get it, and it doesn't matter what galaxy you're in. Inception Radio Network will always be there. I can guarantee that. Well, hey, you guys in chat, you're being very active tonight. I'm already seeing tons of questions. I've already got 3 ready to post, and Mark is like going, do I answer them now or do I answer them later? And I said, well, we'll answer them later in the last half hour of the show. So keep them coming, gang. You're doing great. And that's another thing, just let everybody know out there. I don't take live calls during my show. And I should be announcing this more often, but what I do love to do is I love to answer your questions in the last half hour of the show that are posted in the chat room. Or if you're just not anywhere near the chat or you're on a computer where you can't get that kind of internet access, you can always email them to, I think it's MJ at inceptionradionetwork.com or just info at inceptionradionetwork.com. MJ is going to have to answer that question for me because I never do know what the email is to get in here. But you could send those email questions to MJ and he'll take care of you. So, okay. So, Mark was just saying that this cigar-shaped bizarre object, which now that Mark's mentioned it, kind of feels to me like it might be one of ours. I can't imagine that an interdimensional species would build something that looks like the back of or is falling apart and looks like the back of an air conditioning unit. But you never know. Maybe they aren't quite as advanced as some of the species. I don't know. So we'll get back to Mark and we'll ask him now. It's skipping over the street and over to a building is what I last heard, right, Mark?
Yeah, exactly. Because you see, it was trying to steer clear, I guess, from where the cars were and where all the people were. I think it was trying to conceal itself. And now what it was doing is it was going off of the street and between houses, if you want, but parallel to the street, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, because it's trying to get away from I don't know, maybe from Mark on his bike, rushing towards it. I have no idea. Anyways, so
okay.
Well, I have it was weird because again, a little bit like with the bird. That we'll get into a little bit, I guess, in a bit.
Yeah, we need to talk about that some more because that thing still blows my mind. That whole story just blows my mind. Anyhow, go ahead.
Okay, so. So I'm sorry, it's just because I keep seeing the pictures, the questions. So I'm just gonna close that. Okay. So the thing is it's leaping over buildings and it's hitting the side of the buildings as it's trying to what I perceive as getting away. But I'm following it, and next to me I have this guy from the city security or whatnot, right? They're not police
Mm-hmm.
officers, they don't have guns and stuff, but they
Right.
communicate with the police and they make sure everything's okay, especially for like road work and stuff like
They're
that,
kind of
you
like
know?
volunteer guys, aren't they?
No, they're totally
Oh,
paid.
they're actually
Yeah, yeah.
paid.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
cool. See,
Yeah, well,
that's what makes you Canadians so neat, is that you have jobs like that.
well, you know, it's kind of important. It's like if in a park, if there's a branch that falls, in order to make sure like they can cordon off the area, you know, they do a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
So, anyways, he's standing. He's riding next to me because obviously this is a hazard, I guess, for the population, whatever this thing is. So it leaps over. It goes from behind a pharmacy, right? Hits the side of the building of the pharmacy, leaps over.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, Mark, you got to stop for a second there. When it hit the side of the building, did it do any damage to the building?
Not at
Or
all.
did it...
No, not at all.
Oh,
And
wow.
that I know, and that's why I think that there was a type of energy field, perhaps, that was being projected around. Again, I don't know anything technical about these things. You know, this is just the impression I was getting fast as this is occurring. You know,
Right. Sure.
I mean, you know, I have no point of reference. I don't know about technology that does this, and I'm probably sure that there is, but a little bit like two magnets, you know, that you would put the positive towards the positive and it repulses each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
it kind
That
of
makes
felt a
total
little,
sense.
yeah, something like that. Anyways, so it leaps and it flips in the air. So as it's flipping, it's trying to reach over to go behind another building, which is across the street. Which by now there's a light, there's a street light, traffic light. Sorry, and we have to stop because there's a car in front of us, and the car is stopped at the light. Plus, we can't just cross the street anyways. And by then, I'm standing. I'm on my bike next to this thing, and we're looking next to the security guy. Sorry, I always get a little bit excited whenever I talk about this specific thing
Oh,
because
this is just wild. I'm telling you, you should be excited. Everybody should be excited about this. It's blowing my mind.
I know it totally still blows my mind. Anyways, so for some reason, as the object goes behind this other commerce, there used to be a bank and now it's a Renaissance. It's like a thrift shop, a thrift
Oh,
store.
okay.
And as it goes behind that, drops behind it completely, doesn't keep flying or trying to get away. It just goes behind. I don't know why, Lorien, but I hit the top of his car with my hand like 2-3 times, you know, like bam, bam, bam.
Uh-huh.
And I scream, "Don't believe your eyes!" And I'm pointing over the shop. I go, "It's him! It's him!" And from behind the store, all of a sudden, comes out a plane.
What? What? Now
Yeah.
I'm really confused. I
I
know.
know. I know, so am I.
Now, okay, first off, let's break this down, okay? Because this is where it gets really confusing for me. You say it's him, and who were you referring to when you said it was him?
I don't even know. I wasn't, you know, Mark that's talking to you now had never seen anything like this before. This was blowing my mind. Just the fact of chasing this cigar-shaped smoking thing that was clearly in some type of trouble, an engine trouble or something, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so I didn't know it was going to pop out as something else. I have no idea why I said that.
I wonder now. Just play along with me for a second, Mark, because I'm just trying to explore every avenue I can think of at this point. Because I'm totally miffed. Do you think maybe you had actually seen that type of craft before and knew the occupant? And maybe we're just blurting out what your subconscious was throwing at you, like, oh, yeah, you've seen that before. You know that there's this guy in there or this alien or this thing in there manning it. And maybe you were trying to warn everybody that it was this person, thing, alien, or whatever that may have abducted you at another time or contacted you at another time. Do you get where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think it was to the point of like abductions or anything like that.
Okay.
Because
Do
it
you
didn't
think,
resonate
did it look
like that.
familiar at all?
Not at all.
Oh,
This was
wow.
the first time I ever saw this.
Oh,
I
my
mean,
God.
obviously, if I had a response like this type of uh, uh, spontaneous thing, I don't know where this came from. I mean, I can't explain it. And a lot of my story, I can't explain it. I mean, really, there's a lot of still big time interrogation marks for myself too. But as I was pointing, I swear to God, I didn't know this was going to happen. I had never seen anything like this before, And
Wow.
as it came out, it was like a plane that appeared to be like landing as the other planes usually land, except it popped out from behind that. You have to understand it was weird because it's like if when it appeared coming out from behind that thing, it's like if it was, first of all, on its right side, which I could see, okay, it had a blue and a blue and a white light on the side of the fuselage, and the blue light was super super long, like
Mm-hmm.
the whole fuselage, and fixed itself into just one light. So you could
Hmm.
see that. Anyways, I'm gonna say this was a hologram. I have no idea. This was a holographic projection, I guess. I mean, there's, you
Now,
know,
well, at this point, can the guy, the security guy, can he see it with
yeah,
you?
yeah, totally. And I'm pointing to the object, and I'm stunned, and you can hear that I'm still nervous talking about it. And I'm stunned, and I'm still pointing at it. It's passing next to us. Well, next to us. Again, the way it fixed itself in the sky, it fixed its dimensions and everything to the point as if it was an approaching plane going into Dorval, going into the airport, you know?
Oh my
And I'm
God.
pointing at it, and the guy's looking at me, and I'm there with my mouth open, like just pointing at the thing. And the guy goes, "What? The plane?" And I look at him, I go, I don't know. It's like, I didn't see the object change into a plane. All I'm telling you is I saw this cigar-shaped object leap and clearly, in flames and trouble, go behind that thing. And for some reason, I slapped on the top of his car, and I said, I screamed, "Don't believe your eyes. It's him. It's him." And I'm pointing before it shows up as a plane.
Wow.
Like I
This
have no
is
idea.
just wild, because you know what you're basically telling us is you're saying that they choose who they want to let you see. They choose who they want to let believe that they're there, that they
But he
can
thought,
morph into anything, and people can actually see whatever they project into their mind that it's a plane,
you
you
know,
know?
and you know what? It was perfect. Except for that first moment when it first came out of behind the building, in which that blue light just fixed itself. Like that image,
Right.
I guess it was a projection. It was hiding itself. Okay, like
Yeah.
this is my deep gut feeling, and something inside of me, or in some way, I seem to know that he was gonna try to trick us. Because I mean, why else would I say that?
Oh,
Well,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
and as it was passing and I was still pointing at it, I was thinking to myself, I think from now on, whenever I'm gonna see these things, it just did something to my brain, and I'm always gonna see a plane.
Oh boy. Now you're
Uh,
really freaking me out.
but hold on, that's not the end of it. As it passed, the roar, the sound, everything was identical as a plane.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Identical.
Yeah. You're talking to the true believer on that one.
And the weird thing is, as a cigar shaped thing, it didn't make any noise at all. There was no noise. There was no sound,
Oh,
and
exactly.
and it was too small. It was too small. Well, and I don't know again how these physics and quantum physics and all this stuff. I don't know how that works, but it would have been. It looked way too small for there to be even a person in there. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it was a type of drone, maybe a mechanical drone from some beings. If this is our technology, whoa, this because that wasn't the end of it. The thing
Oh no,
passed.
there's more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, keep going. I'm dying to hear the rest of this story.
No, totally crazy. It's totally nuts. Anyways, so I'm looking at this thing, and the driver goes, "What, you mean the plane?" And I'm looking at him, and I'm like nuts. I'm like going crazy in my mind. And still today, whenever I talk about it, I get all worked up and stuff because I don't really have any answers. But that's exactly what happened. Anyways, so the light changes. He goes to see behind the building to see if that thing is there because it should be there. He saw it go behind the building, that cigar-shaped thing. You understand that he doesn't, something in his brain is not allowing him to believe that this is the same object.
Sure, exactly. Yeah.
I don't even go there. To me, this is done. I mean, to me, the episode is finished. I figure that it left as a plane. I'm in shock. I go to the corner. There used to be a Couche-Tard, like a convenience store there. I go inside. Cool. I'm freaking out, right on the corner. I'm freaking out. I'm talking to the guy. I mean, I'm really super agitated. I asked the guy, "Did you hear what just happened, man? This is crazy, whatever." So we step outside. We have a cigarette together. He's a guy I haven't seen since. And what happens is, from the northern direction in the sky, this is still in broad daylight. By now, it's maybe 5:45, 6 o'clock, 5:30, maybe 5:45.
And this is in the summer, right? Because if it's broad daylight,
April.
it's
early April. I think it was the 2nd or the 3rd of April. It was a Saturday in 2010.
Okay, great.
So as we're talking, there's this white luminous object that's coming from the northern direction really slowly. And it comes to position itself in relative position as to where the object just left. Okay. Now, looking at this object, you can clearly see that it would be the only star in the sky. This is, again, it's broad daylight. You don't see any stars. And I had my binoculars with me, as I was telling you. It was shortly after my contact, a few weeks after my contact. So I was examining a lot the sky because I wanted to start paying attention to things. I was wondering, wow, if these beings exist, what else am I missing? How many things are we ignoring, or that we've learned to ignore, that when we see things, we just let it go? And we don't even wonder what the hell it is, because these beings are present with us, and it's not a threat, but they're incredibly real, and we're being assisted on many, many levels. And obviously, there must be the other side as well. Maybe some of them are manipulating us or whatnot. I don't know what's at stake. I only know what I've experienced. Anyways,
right.
So this is like an upside down crystal, basically shaped.
You're saying the pointy end was facing down and the flat end was upwards?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
And luminous. It's luminous. It's a bright white light. Yeah. And I can see it with my binoculars. And the guy that was working at the Couche-Tard looks at it too through the binoculars. I'm stopping people on the street. I'm telling them, look, you believe in UFOs? You want to see one? Look at that. And I pass them my binoculars so they can see.
Okay.
Now, by then what happens is it stays stable and it starts moving a little bit sideways and the other side. I'm thinking, oh my God, it's like mom that's coming to get her kids. Like a kid is not responding to the call. He's not coming home. The mother's going on her balcony and saying, you can imagine the.
Sure. It's reconnaissance, looking for it. Yeah, you bet.
And it's just standing there, right? It's just staying there. It's not hovering too much. It's moving a little bit sideways and stuff, but it's pretty much staying in that position. Goes a little bit sideways, like back and forth, but not too much. Now, 5 minutes after the arrival of this other ship that's standing there, there's a big black plane, but not a black plane like the black planes. From what I've seen, it seems like a NATO plane.
Oh, interesting. Okay, sure. Not like the AWACS, the big ones that fly real slow and they're cumbersome.
Yeah, that's exactly it. A big one. Maybe the ones that carry cargo.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Okay, I know which ones you're talking about. I live near a base here called Travis Air Force Base,
okay.
and they have these big cargo carrying lumbersome giant whack AWACS things that fly around the area and they go so slow you think they're not moving. They're
Well,
scary, man, I'm telling you.
and it comes out, and by then there's no more air traffic at all. And remember, we're in corridors, landing corridors. Okay,
Right. Okay.
there's like two corridors basically that are heading towards Dorval, and that's where this ship just came in now. Okay,
Okay.
so by then there's no more traffic, and now instead of it being a landing corridor, there's this big black plane that comes out of it as if it's a takeoff, but it's not a takeoff corridor. You don't have both. I mean, if you see how airports work, it's always one way, and then if they're landing in one way, you're not going to have takeoffs from that same corridor. It's going to be on the opposite side because of the winds.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Sure.
So
Okay.
so by then this big black airplane comes up, and he obviously, as he's going up, he's going straight for this object.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. And as I'm looking at this, I'm going, "Oh my God." And I'm thinking from everything I've heard, that many times there's planes that come out or helicopters and the objects leave, right? The objects
Hmm.
just disappear, or they go somewhere else, they hide, or I don't know what. But this object is not moving at all.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah,
now when you're looking up at it, how big is it compared to the sky? Is it like the size of a full moon? Is it bigger? Is it
no, no,
lower?
no, it's much smaller, much
Okay.
smaller than a. I would say maybe. Oh, it's a little bit difficult to say because when they're in the sky, it's tough to evaluate
Yeah, it's
because
hard to gauge them. You know what I did when I was looking up at my ember lights in the sky through the window? I don't know why I did it, but I did it because I think it was just ingrained in my brain to do it. Somebody told me once, put up your thumb and compare the size of the object to your thumbnail. And I don't know why, because I can't remember the formula to figure out how big it is from that.
okay.
But if you were to put your thumbnail or your thumb out and look at your nail, was it about the size of your fingernail in front of you?
No, no, it was smaller than that because
Smaller
people.
than that.
Yeah,
Okay.
some of the people I was stopping to say, "Do you believe in UFOs?" Look, there's one right there. They said they thought that it was a star.
Oh,
It was
okay.
still pretty
Gotcha.
small. It was still pretty small, but compared to the plane, because the plane actually circled it. Okay,
Oh,
yeah, it took off, went straight for it, and I thought it was gonna go away, but no, not at all. And that was the interesting thing, and the thing that kind of, sorry for my language, kind of pissed me off
yeah.
because it's like they were identifying what this object was. By
Huh.
by passing close to it, I was getting the impression that they just needed to come close to see like which ones this was. Which I don't know.
Friend or
I
foe, basically, huh?
exactly type of thing.
Yeah.
And then they went around, and so when they took off, they were going an east direction. They headed north in order to circle the object, and then they went south, just to give you an idea of the trajectory of the plane. And they literally went at the same level as this object, and there was nothing happened. There was no confrontation. But this thing stayed there too, and the plane never came back. It went in the southern direction. I didn't see any helicopters around, nothing. There was no air traffic at all. Now,
Hmm.
about a half hour later, there was a small Cessna that took off from Dorval. But at that point, all this time, there's no air traffic at all on this side, like either taking off or landing. Okay, there's nothing, nothing, nothing. There's just that one object in the sky. So now, after 30 minutes of that, there's that little Cessna that comes up, and he's heading an eastern direction because it's from west to east, if you want, the corridor, or
Mm-hmm.
east to west. And so he's going east, and I'm looking because I'm keeping an eye on this object clearly. It's still daytime. And the Cessna, clearly, the pilot must have noticed that there was something shining there, and turned to head towards the light as well, towards this object, right? And at that point, he immediately turned away into another direction. He didn't get he didn't come close at all. There was like a feeble attempt to try to get closer, but for some reason, he just took off in the other direction. And 10 minutes later, another small plane took off from the airport, and noticed, I guess, the object, and tried to approach it as well, and immediately turned back. Now, did they get a warning on the radio telling them, look, you don't go close to that? You don't go in that direction? Or did they get frightened by what they saw? But they did not get close.
Did they get a telepathic message from the occupant saying, you don't see me and you're going to fly the other direction now? It's like somebody said in the chat room, these are not the droids you seek, Maybe it was one of those mind control moments.
It could have been. I have no answer. I have no answer for that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're going to have to explore this more here in a few minutes, because I can't believe it, Mark. It's already almost time for the second break. Can you believe it?
That's incredible.
And you barely got through that story.
I know.
And it's, people have got questions. Oh my gosh, this is just amazing. I've got all kinds of questions, and we got like 30 seconds before the break. I see that MJ is typing away in Skype, and so and I promise everybody will get to your questions here in the last half hour of the show. And there are a ton of really good ones in here. So give us more questions. We're ready for them. We'll see you right back here in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton, and we're here on Inception Radio Network. And I just want to say, I want to thank everybody. I've already seen 3 or 4 T-shirts have sold, or hoodies, or whatever. I'm just so thrilled. Thank you all for purchasing those. Now we just need like 97 more. Not a whole lot, actually, in reality. I know there's a lot of you out there listening. I know you'll help me out, and it's just going to be wonderful. And I really can't wait to meet any of you who do come to UFO Symposium this year in Laughlin, Nevada on November 14th, 15th, and 16th. And those of you who are going to support the future campaigns to get me to International UFO Congress, I think it's the 3rd weekend of February. So anyhow, those are the 2 I'm planning on going to. I'm planning on doing as much broadcasting as I can for all of you from there, and it'll just be wonderful and a good experience for us all, because you guys, if you can't go to these events, I totally understand. Believe me, I never get to go to anything, and if I do go, I'm working. So but I'll at least be there to, pin everybody down, get them to talk to you guys, and tell you, maybe a little bit more behind the scenes than they're going to do just at, their presentations. And I hate to say this, and I'm a producer of conferences, so I really shouldn't be saying this, but I think the best information at a conference comes from the people like myself that are there doing these kind of one-on-one interviews with them and getting their guard down and getting them relaxed and getting them to talk about things they know about. I think it's much more important than actually hearing their presentation in many cases. So, that may be bias on my part, because I know a lot of these people, but I do know that a lot of them are very guarded about what they say in their presentations, because, they have their issues around different things. And I'm not going to go into all the details I know about a lot of these people, but, they have to say it in kind of a nutshell for the masses. And then I like to get what they really are thinking when I can get them on the radio shows at the conference and do some recordings of what they're up to. So hopefully that will happen. So if you get to teespring.com/CA MUFON Radio, you'll be able to pick up those T-shirts and get me off to those conferences. So that'd be wonderful. Okay. And as you all know, we had our meeting a couple weeks ago here in Petaluma with the MUFON Marin Sonoma meeting, and it was just fabulous. We had a great time, and I just wish that all of you could either join MUFON or at least get to a MUFON meeting near you, because it truly is, like I say in every show, it's all about the camaraderie. It has nothing to do with politics anymore. We're shaking and moving, and MUFON may be still very much into the investigations of the flying saucers. God, I wish they'd been there to investigate Mark's sighting. That would have been absolutely phenomenal. But anyhow, my point to all this is, yes, they're out there doing kind of the nuts and bolts, but they're also evolving, I think, and that's why it says MUFON evolved on the website. They're evolving into a place where you can go and hear shows like I'm putting on, where we talk a lot about what's really going on out there and the consciousness shift that's happening with the UFO phenomena and alien agenda. So whatever agenda it is they may have, I don't know, but at least we're talking about, we're getting really into it, folks. So, and I know you're all growing and your minds are expanding and you're really grasping onto this whole consciousness thing. And as I always say too, it's disclosure's already happened. It has nothing to do with disclosure anymore. Now it's, do you believe it? Are you doing something about it? Are you thinking about it? Are you trying to inform other people around you about it? That it's all real and that we all need to be aware of it. I think it's very important. It's kind of, I was telling somebody the other day, it's kind of like me going to church, because it is. You have to have faith. You have to have belief. You have to have some kind of, faith that you're somehow going to know the answer to it all when the moment comes. So there you are. It is kind of religious in a weird way. So I do hope you're all embracing that. And I do hope you're all trying to get to a MUFON meeting near you. We have so much fun at our meetings. And I know the Southern California people do too. And I know the Arizona people are really rocking. I know Oregon's really going. I know that there are places where you can find people like all of us that listen to Inception Radio Network. So head to a MUFON meeting near you. Check out MUFON.com. That's MUFON.com. Okay, back to Mark. Okay, Mark, I think, how are we doing on, we're done with that story?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes, we are.
I'm not done with it. I can't even grasp it. It's kind of like my mind is trying to wrap itself around the whole thing. I'm really blown away. I may need till next time that we actually speak on the radio to kind of get to the bottom of what I think about all that, because I've really got to think about it. The part that's really blown my mind the most is the part when you talked about it kind of falling apart in the fire and the way it was built. I mean, it seemed to you that it was built.
Yeah, nuts and bolts. Nuts and bolts.
Yeah. See, that part just kind of freaks me out. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the old 1900s, 1800s sightings of these cigar-shaped objects that looked like a nuts and bolts dirigible. And that's really what it sounds like to me. And they haven't been seen for hundreds of years. So very odd. And I don't know. I just don't know what to make of it. So, but
for thought, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely food for thought. And we've got lots of questions about it going on in chat. Now, as I said in chat earlier, folks, we need more questions. We have lots. We've got 1, 2, 3. We got a couple comments, 3 or 4 questions. We need more. So get in there and get us some more questions for Mark tonight. Well, in the last half hour of the show, we'll be talking about all those questions. Okay. So Mark, you had another experience that we've talked about here on the show. Do you want to talk about that one again and kind of touch upon it? Because I have more thoughts on that one now that I've had time to process it. And if not, that's fine. Do you have any other incidents that people should know about?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to maybe talk about, about contacts. Contacts per se, like in Peru, for instance, there's a group of people that do group contacts in the Andes, and they're called the Rama Group, RAHMA.
Wow.
Mission, Rama Mission or Misión Rama. A lot of it is in Spanish, but however, like in the Spanish language. But I think that there's I think that there's anyways. There can be some information found. I know that there's a Rama mission in California. I think that the group can be found on Facebook. I believe that, however, I believe most of the information is in Spanish. But if people want to look into it, it would be interesting, because this is real. I mean, meaning people do get contacts. Now, you have to understand that contacts, it's not necessarily what we think it is and what we all hope that it would be, because even through my contacts, I was always hoping for the ship coming, landing, and having beings come out of it. In my case, it wasn't like that. It never was like that, actually, in my case. Okay, even the contacts I've had in Peru, I've seen ships. Okay, I have seen ships relatively close. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about those? Do you want to describe what they looked like?
Well, one of the incidents that I think is noteworthy is it has to do with light beings. Okay, there's in Peru, anyways, the beings that are contacting the Rama group are literally spiritual guides. I mean, these are physical contacts people are having with these beings.
Now, when you say light beings, Mark, do you mean like just an entity that's in the shape of a human that's emanating nothing but light?
Yes.
Okay, now I've heard of these beings before. I have a quick story for you, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Barbara Lamb and I were sitting at one of the conferences talking, and I think it was actually, she said it on my radio show when I interviewed her at one of the conferences. She said to me that she was with a friend who had gone out to the moors while they were over doing a crop circle investigation or tour over in Ireland and England. And one of her friends had gone out into the moors one night because she saw some bright lights over a field. And so she went out there, and these balls of light shot down to the ground and turned into forms of human bodies. And they emanated light, just such a bright light out of each one of them that they became almost a star structure unto themselves, just standing on the ground. And they weren't actually standing on the ground, they were kind of floating above the ground. And then they started spinning, and they spun themselves into like a little hurricane or tornado. And then they turned all into balls of light again and shot up in the air and became one giant ball of light and then disappeared.
Incredible.
Yes. And Barbara, to this day, she didn't get to see it herself, but her friend described it to her so many times. And her friend said she felt like she was in the presence of the most amazing, loving angel type of entity that she could imagine. And I said to her, I said, Barbara, do you think that she felt like she was in the presence of God? And she goes, it's funny you said that, because that's how she actually described it to me. But later she kept saying, well, it couldn't have been God if he was all those different beings. It had to be several, or maybe angels or something, But, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that simple. Maybe energy is God, and God can show himself to us in so many different ways. Anyhow, that's just my opinion, but go ahead.
Well, the interesting point is I find, anyways, even from my experiences, I've never felt like any of the beings that I've met, because I've met almost 10, maybe 11. Anyways, I've witnessed, let's say, okay, because they didn't interact with me all the same way as that bird being. Mm-hmm. But I never felt that this was God. I felt that these were maybe helpers, that they had something to do with my spiritual belief, but I wouldn't have prayed to them ever. I mean, it wouldn't even be a question. And again,
exactly. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing, because in Ancient Aliens, there's that guy with the wacky hair.
Oh, Giorgio.
Yes.
My buddy.
well, you see, and he's always saying these were not gods. These were flesh and blood extraterrestrials.
Terrestrials, I know. And you did that pretty good. You do a good Giorgio. God.
But the interesting thing is, because you can't help it. They're not trying to con you. You recognize. Your heart recognizes that this is this has something to do with truth. Okay, I mean,
Exactly.
it's not that you want to start worshiping. You would not worship these beings. You just
Exactly.
wouldn't. However,
Ex-
they're the closest thing to God that you can possibly find.
well,
Because,
and
I
I
mean,
think, and this is just me, Mark, again, this is me throwing something out there. I think God, or this whole thing of worshiping a God, was all invented back in God knows what time. And I use that word God kind of loosely when I say it all the time. But it was invented by humans so to keep us under control, basically. Because I have met these beings. I had a being come to the side of my bed and touch me in the forehead and take me to a place of unconditional love that
mm,
was mind-bogglingly so beautiful that when I was put back here and I was told I wouldn't remember anything that they talked to me about, and I knew that when I got back, all I remembered was the love, and it was so phenomenal that I cried for 2 or 3 days, and I was even considering committing suicide so I could go there again. I mean,
mm,
that's how amazing that love is.
wow.
So I understand that whole thing of not worshiping because that isn't what you get. What you get
Not at all.
is
Yeah.
this amazing feeling of love and a bond that is just like it's your soul is united. It's the only
Yeah.
way I can describe it to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see, it's going to a little bit to what I wanted to say about Peru is I saw some beings over there with the Rama group. It's a very different thing
Oh, cool.
because whenever you go in a group and you do a contact, usually the physical contacts, like the face-to-face contacts, will occur individually because not everybody at all is vibing on the same frequency. I'm not saying people won't be
Exactly.
ships together, but and as a group, okay, that's fine. But ships, that's secondary. That's not why they're there. Imagine if you take the time to go somewhere, you don't want people staring at your car. There's a reason why we keep seeing these lights. I mean, and they're not.
Sorry. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard to describe UFOs. That is fabulous, Mark. Thank you for saying that on my show.
No, but it's true, right? Because all the videos we see these lights moving. We don't really know what they're doing. They never seem to be doing anything, you know? I mean,
Exactly.
we see the ships staying there and then they leave, but actually they are doing something. But the problem is we're not getting it because we're so distracted. We're so influenced by all this weird misinformation about the phenomena, about what we're supposed to be expecting as a contact. I'm telling you, during my contacts, I was sitting down. I would go in the woods by myself. I would meditate just to stay calm, and these beings would manifest there.
Yes.
There was luminous
Absolutely.
spheres in the sky, but they that never landed. Even though I was always expecting that to happen and wanting that to happen, because that to me would have been the contact. But that's not at all. I mean, I'm not saying that this doesn't happen. People report
There
this
are
happen.
there are a
I
lot of
believe it.
people who report actually having the ship like come like 10 feet from them and open up and somebody will come out, and that's
Wow.
absolutely
Yeah.
mind-boggling. I couldn't I think I'd pass out right there on the spot, but
Well, and you
who
see,
knows?
interestingly enough, in Peru, I was in a garden, and this usually doesn't happen. I was in a garden of where I was living. I was living in a hostel in the city of Arequipa. This was in December of 2011, and
Wow.
I was familiar with the emotions of contact. Okay, I wasn't consciously trying to do a contact. I was just exposing myself, and usually in contacts, they never come to see me at my house. I have to go to a place. This is a bit of the key of contact. You go somewhere because that way it shows
Exactly.
shows to the beings that this is what you want. You're not just thinking about please, please, please give me a contact. You're actually doing an effort, going to a place you don't usually go. You work, you meditate, you calm down, you overcome those fears, the fears we have of being alone in a dark place or whatever, because it's all imaginary. That those fears don't even belong to us. This is part of the manipulation to keep us immobilized. As I'm,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
Anyways, and in the garden, I have this memory. Again, it's bizarre because these light beings, this was a light being. These light, I mean, they have faces and everything, right? It's just that they're like light. They're made of light. And he was hovering over me. And the only reason why, and we were talking together. And the only reason I actually remember this is because he said something. He told me the name of someone. I can't remember the name to save my life. Okay. And I laughed and I said, and I repeated the name. And I told him, but that's easy I'm going to remember that name. That's the only reason why I actually remember the encounter.
Oh,
Because
okay.
there was like a glitch in the communication that we had, or he allowed me to see that. What I mean is, I suspect that many of us, many times a day, maybe, many times a year for sure, I would think, have these physical contacts with some light beings. Whether they're from here or from another planet, I don't know, from another system, from another dimension, I don't know, but these are helpers. It's just we never remember. And when they address us, when we look at them, we don't even go, oh my God, it's really not like that. It's just as if he was always there with us. And immediately you remember everything, and it's not even like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. It's like if they're always there. But
Exactly. I
except,
understand exactly what you're trying to say.
you
And I
know,
hope that the audience is grasping this. I think that a lot of people are, and I think they understand what you're trying to say. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people think that it's all hocus pocus.
well, and that's funny too, because on Facebook there's some groups. I'm not going to name names, but some groups of observers, if you want, people that maybe have repeated sightings as well, but they don't want to hear nothing about the spiritual aspect of it. They don't want to hear that,
Exactly.
because to them that's like bullcrap. But you know what? That's the key. I'm not saying to
It's
all.
absolutely the key. You're absolutely right. From the moment I was a kid that I can remember knowing, being consciously aware that there was something else besides Earth and us,
Mm.
I would go out at night and I would run. I used to run track when I tried to run track when I was between 12 and 15 years old. And I used to go out at night to train around the track up at the high school near our house. And it was dark. It was the middle of the night. My parents couldn't believe I'd go out after 10 o'clock at night and go running. They were scared for me, but I always said, I'll be fine. And I used to go up there and I used to run around this track alone at night, a young girl. I don't know how I got away with this. And I used to say up to the sky every night up there, when are you going to come and get me and take me home? I always knew that there was something else beyond us. And it was, it was maybe way out there or maybe just right within my grasp, but I knew there was something else.
And there totally is, for sure.
And I think it's really important that people get to that spot. I think, actually, maybe if you get to that spot, that's the only way they're going to contact you. Wouldn't you say?
Well, and this is the invitation I'm giving to the listeners, especially those of them who have repeated sightings. There's a message there. They don't just want you to see their car again. That's not the point. And they take the time and they're aware that you see them. Even if it's quick. I can't explain how they do this, but they know. And after my initial contact in 2010, there was a luminous sphere that approached me right next to my house, and as I was looking at it, if you want, in my heart, I immediately recognized that these people, these same beings that were there, okay, I can't say if they were in the shape of light. I suspect so, because these lights are not big enough to have like people inside them. I don't think.
Are you talking about a smaller orb type of light, right?
Well, yeah, well, maybe it looks to me like maybe basketball size.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Something
the
like
one. Yep.
And in my heart, I recognized that these people were the same ones that when I was a kid, I used to pray a lot as a Catholic. Okay,
Oh,
that
me too.
and they were listening to my prayers.
Oh,
Again,
that's interesting.
I wasn't praying to them, but they were listening all the time. So I think that when we pray God, whoever God is, okay, not necessarily
Right.
praying archangels and angels and all this, but reach for the top. It's a different type of communication. And in that channel, in that broadcast that you're doing within your heart, the beings listen
Yeah.
and they hear you, you know? Uh,
I
I don't know.
totally agree with you on this. I think prayer and how we communicate, because what we're really doing is we're being psychic and we're being telepathic, is basically what it comes down to. And that's what prayer is. Prayer is a telepathic communication to another being of another type of entity.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what people don't get is that it's that simple. And what quantum physics has just figured out in the last 6 months to a year is that I can have a thought here, in Marin County, California, in my house that can actually, if I project it out to the universe and I say, I want to drop a rock on the moon, and that's the kind of thought I want to have, it can happen
mm,
instantaneously of that thought.
yeah. It's
So
mind-boggling.
it is. It is absolutely mind-boggling what we can do as a species
Yeah,
if we go inside our heads and realize that there is as much power in our thoughts
yeah.
as there is in this 3D reality we seem to live in. So
Totally.
I hope I made sense there, folks, because I don't know what I'm talking about because it's all science, but I do understand how it all works because I
It,
felt it, I've done it, and I know Mark has too. So
imagination is a lie. Again,
exactly.
it's another way to be controlled because I do Reiki, you know that.
Yes.
Okay, I do a lot of distance work, and you've seen what Phil does and you've heard of his success and stuff like that. So how is it that I'm able to help someone that they can feel the energy from a distance just with my intent? I don't even know these people, for instance, I mean, somebody says, "Oh, my aunt, needs healing." I have no idea. I'll go, "Okay, no problem," right away, and I'll start sending energy and they feel it. How is that?
Exactly.
So imagine how bad it is when you say bad things about people, or when you're thinking bad things about people. Imagine the harm that you're actually doing to them.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. People have got to be really aware of that, and oh gosh, we're almost up against a break again. I can't believe this. Oh my God. I have so much to say right now. This always happens to me, folks. I get to right to the point where I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, this really totally relates to something else. I'm going to try to get this out as quickly as possible because I got about 30 seconds. Basically, I got to this place where I don't know if I've talked about it on this radio show, but there came a point where I actually was able to clear my mind of all clutter, all sound, all anything going on, and I have absolutely nothing going on in there unless I want it to be. And I want to explain that a little bit more when we get back and how it relates to what you just said. So everybody stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton, and we're here with my now good friend, Marc Cossette, because after tonight's show, boy, I'll tell you what, he's going to be a rising star on the internet network of just about everybody. They're all going to be calling in to get him on there. And I want to say right now, I am just grateful that he has come on our show and shared all this information with us because he is absolutely an amazing guy. He's very eloquent. He's beautiful at speaking about this, and he has so much to say. And I do hope that everybody else out there picks up on him and does start getting him on as many shows as possible. As many people out there that need to hear Mark and have him on their networks, and you guys need to hear him more and more. Wonderful. Oh, Sky says she hears me. Oh, thank God, you guys. I was getting very worried. I said MJ was telling me we had some problems. So we're back. We're here. We're good for now. Okay. So Mark, are you still there?
Yeah.
Great. Right before the break, I had mentioned to everybody that I have finally gotten to this place in my life in my 50s where I believe they took out an implant and I have a very clear head, which is giving me a wonderful sense of being able to create my own thoughts, create whatever I want to come out of my mind when I want it to, not being driven by anxiety or voices or you need to do this or this has to be done, and that those feelings. So I don't have the energetic feelings being thrown at me. And I don't have the thought process that's out of control going on in my head anymore. I have none of that. It's absolutely wonderful. And I thank whoever whatever being, whatever entity, or whatever did that for me, because it is probably one of the most peaceful and enjoyable things that's ever happened to me in my entire life.
Wow.
So that I am thrilled for. So anyhow, and as we were saying, you kind of have to get to that place. You have to get to a place where you're actually in control of your mind in order to open up enough for these beings or other dimensional creatures or what have you to be with you, to commune with you. Correct, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that really fascinates them, from what I understand, is that they keep showing up to the same people over and over, and the people still don't get it. And instead of living their experience, these people are going to grab their cameras, are going to take pictures, and yet when you have to choose. Either you contact or you witness it, because it's not the same thing to take pictures. Imagine for a Christian to have an apparition of Jesus. Is he going to be a little bit disrespectful? But this is precisely what people are doing now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And, and it's really quite spiritual. And I hope that, we're helping a lot of people out there tonight listening to the show. I hope they understand what we're talking about. And I hope that we just kind of tickle their imagination. As you were saying, imagination is alive to me on the break. And it's absolutely true. Imagination is alive. And you guys, you have to imagine this happening to you and being real. You have to kind of make it real, don't you, Mark? I mean, it's one thing to see it, but it's another thing to keep remembering it, examine it, and have it become part of your life.
Yeah, well, then again, I'm kind of suspicious that I kind of suspect that there's a reason why most people don't remember what's happening, and that's kind of okay. Because there's this whole thing, you don't want people to be too freaked out. When I first had my contacts, ask people around me, you'll see I was freaked out. I wanted to go through this, but boy, this was hard. I had no point of reference.
Yeah.
I had nobody to talk to. I was telling my friends because it was so important what had happened, and for me it was the same level as having an apparition of the Virgin Mary or Jesus himself appearing to me and talking to me and telling me and reflecting things of my life and stuff like that. It was really important, and my whole world was shaken up. I couldn't relate to people the same way because I knew that all of a sudden that there's beings here that are interacting with us, and we're not getting it. We're really not getting it. We're not paying attention at all. And again, there is that manipulation. There's that, again, it's not pointing fingers. These beings are elevated beings. They're superior in their consciousness. So they don't point fingers and go, look, you see, he's gypping you, or he's manipulating you. All they say is, okay, it is like that. But however, if you do this, or they don't even suggest things, normally in their presence, you feel something in your heart. And that's when all the information is revealed. And again, it's not to point fingers. There's no time to waste with that. The thing is to love. We're one big family, and we really are one big family. And one day, the veil will be lifted.
Exactly. And then we're all going to be in that space all the time, which is just going to be lovely. There was an amazing book I read when I was a teenager called 2010, and it was about a guy that could go through to 2010, and he was living in the 1970s or something. In 2010, everybody got along, and there was love, and there was no greed, and there was no war. And I looked at that book and back when I was a teenager thinking, oh, I can't wait till 2010. It's going to be so perfect then. Boy, was I wrong.
Right.
It's sad. It breaks my, literally, Mark, it breaks my heart to have to listen to the news, to listen to all this stuff, to listen to, the fact that we have evil evil on this planet still. It just breaks my heart. But on the other hand, part of me is a true patriot, and I just wish in many cases that we could just get rid of our government and get back to the way things could be, because we'd have a better chance. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm just floundering in that area. Thank God I have my faith. And when I say my faith, I actually mean my faith in the essence that has appeared to me, the aliens that may be out there, the God that may be that essence. I don't know, but I've got my faith. And I truly believe that if everybody on this planet asks for this kind of knowing, this kind of knowledge, the tree of life kind of knowledge, the apple that Eve ate knowledge, that we would all be where you are. And hopefully, we would be making this world a much better place for everybody to be.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to hope so. Yeah.
I do too. I'm just afraid for all the kids out there. And to be honest with you, I've never had children because there's something in the back of my head that just kept saying, don't ever have kids. Just don't have them. You've got work to do. There's so many more things out there that you've got to take care of. And this is not going to be a safe place for them in the future. So I've never had kids. And I thank God, I thank my essence every day that I didn't, because I've got to do whatever I can to, save the planet for what we got going right now, which is a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
And, we just got a new question, and we're going to have to get to those. Anyhow,
Yes.
So do you have any opinion about whether this connection is with a God type of being, or what do you think it is?
It's I don't know. I do believe that there is a God-like connection. Are these beings directly involved with God? This is not the information that I've received. What I seem, some people, like the people in Rama, that group from Peru that we were talking about before, they seem to believe, again from the information they get from these light beings, that these beings helped conceive us. Okay, so
I agree. Yeah.
And however, they made us because apparently they're finished evolving and they're still not in contact with God itself, the creative force, as they call it. And the problem is they created us because we're in contact with God. So they hope, and actually we are. There's, and that's the weird thing. So they hope to learn from us because as evolved as they are, they've established peace amongst themselves and others. Peace but they still can't contact the creative force itself. So, and we're able to do this. Jacob's ladder is that. It's us. There's something inside us that makes it that we're able to contact God. Why do you think there's angels? What are these angels doing? How come they're always to our disposition? How come they're always available to help us? Because that's their job.
Yes.
Hold on. I'm saying in their freedom, they want to help us out because we're the key in this. But this manipulation has made us think that we're that it's all in our hands. We are this cage of bone. It's not like that at all. We're multidimensional beings. We're able to act on many different planes at the same time, but we're struggling in this physical reality.
Absolutely.
And we've got like 6, 7, maybe 1,000 different bodies, and we go visit people at night or even during the day. We help our friends even if we're not aware of it.
Exactly.
It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre. So we got a big support system, but we're not using it because we don't know. Because we believe all this crap that's being handed to us, and the worries. It's all made for us to be focused on the physical body. This is nothing. But if you're always worried, if you always owe money because of credit cards, where do you take time to actually do things you want to do? You don't have time. You have to pay your debts, and as soon as you've paid them off, then you take another credit card. And and it's always like that because we're made to think that you need to keep the body happy. It's not true. Actually, make sacrifices in your life. Remove the thing that's the things that are a little bit superfluous or the things you don't really need. Have a more reasonable life and then see what happens and what comes to you.
Absolutely, Mark. Well said. Thank you for that. That's just amazing. Well, you're not going to believe it. We've got about 10 minutes left and we've got to get through all these questions. So let's see how fast we can do it. What do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah.
Okay. This one was from R.W. Sanders. They said, Lorien, do you think you only see UFOs if they want you to see them? And I think that is absolutely true. What's your opinion about that, Mark?
Yeah, I think it is. And actually on my YouTube page, I have some clips in which you see broad daylight spheres that seem to be changing suddenly. I mean, it's hovering in the same area, but it's moving. And it's moving because I think that those that they're looking at, or that they're approaching themselves to maybe have some type of contact with, they don't want these people to see them. And more than that, they even emit an energy field under them. And you can see this. This is a luminous sphere in the daytime. It emanates a type of force field under it that makes it look a little bit like those ships from Billy Meyer in Switzerland.
Oh, sure.
That funny shape.
Yeah.
And because I think that the people that they're trying to hide from are right under them.
Wow.
And
how
again,
interesting.
why? I haven't seen too many. I've felt sometimes their presence. I haven't seen too many like that were right there. So if they want you to see them, and sometimes even when you skywatch with a bunch of people, some people see things, others don't even have time. It's a wink for you, and it only
Exactly.
concerns you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that
like-
kind of, no, that goes right into what Redshift's question was. Has Mark any photos of the ships or of any of the entities he contacted, or is there anything in the realm, or is there anything in the realm of mainstream media that resembles either of those? And you said you have a YouTube page. Tell everybody how they can get onto your YouTube page and see your footage of what you actually do have.
Okay. On YouTube, my page is MTL, like Montreal, MTL UFO Wave. So MTL UFO WAVE. Just put that in the search of YouTube, and you're gonna see some. Just go on my page. You're gonna see a link. Well, a link and all this. Anyways, go on the page and see some of the footage that I have there. I have light ships that I've filmed at night. Light ships that I've filmed in the day. Again, understand, these are not during contacts, because during contacts, you shouldn't film. If you go for contact, please leave your cameras at home. Go and be there and live the experience. These are, I've seen them in the day, and I even ask them because they stay there, and I go, oh, can I, is it okay if I film you, please? Oh, thank you. And I think in a way it's for them to allow me to validate my story to others. So that way they know I'm not just, I'm not just saying stuff. I mean, even if I'm just seeing UFOs, which is not such a big deal, but at least I have some proof to show that I have been seeing things. So people, again, I'm not trying to convince anybody. Just for people.
Wonderful. It's great that they're letting you get their pictures. I think that's just great. And you're absolutely right. I think that's why they're doing it. Is so that you. Yeah, go ahead.
And I have some pictures of certain beings as well. Have you received the pictures, Lorien?
I don't know, Mark, to be honest with you.
Okay. Because I did send them to you. What I'm going to do
is... Okay.
Yeah. What I'm going to do in the next... These are reptilians, however. Okay? These are not beings that I've spoken to face-to-face. However, with the event coming up, right, this big event that's supposed to happen, that we didn't get into it tonight, but... Anyways, I was given the opportunity to have a few snapshots of these entities, and actually there's spheres of light getting on site and beings emanating from these spheres of light. I have pictures of that. I have pictures as well of two reptilians standing on the side of the street. These are just a few pictures, because I had other pictures that showed a mixture of these beings with military personnel, what appears to be military personnel, doing some types of scenarios, on my neighbors and stuff, and very, very strange things. However, I don't have those pictures anymore. I think somebody managed to get into my phone. I know it sounds like hogwash. It's not. But I'm not able to substantiate these claims. Okay,
you're talking to the one person who absolutely believes you.
But
Because they have been in my computer, and I've actually watched them go in and try to delete things out of my computer.
mm.
So
Or
yeah,
even
it's been
Photoshop and erase things and stuff like that. I mean, this has happened to me. I had over 9 hours of UFO footage with like high 8, and
uh-huh.
these tapes totally disappeared. Not from my house, from my father's house, because I wasn't even keeping them in my house. I went to hide them. Well, not to hide them, but to store them in my father's house.
How
9 hours of like it would blow your mind. Square objects right in the middle, and I mean full zoom. You
Oh,
know,
you're kidding
no,
me.
I'm telling you, night shots and everything.
Oh
But again, it's not.
God.
I have nothing to prove what I'm saying. I'm just saying, and that's why I don't really talk too much about these things because it's just words until you get the proof. Anyways,
Yeah.
on my YouTube page, there's stuff. I'm gonna try to make a video with these beings. It's only unfortunately it's not on film. It's just pictures, but I'll try to make a little montage and try to. I don't like explaining pictures too much. I think if people look at the picture, it should resonate to them and they should see what I'm talking about. I don't
I
like to
agree.
really spell out things to people too much because it could be, I guess, maybe shocking for them. Anyways, but I'll try to do my
Well, if
best to
they
put
see it
something in.
and they recognize it or they know in their heart that it's real, they'll know. I mean, you don't need to go through any explanation about any of it. You just need to get them up there so people can view them, I think.
Yeah,
And I think you're absolutely right about that.
and I'll do that.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, we got to move on to the next question.
Yes.
This is from Sky33. Has Mark ever heard of an orb or a ball of light communicate with a person through telepathy? And I think we kind of went over that. And my guess is yes.
Yes, absolutely. And I've had people as well that told me that they had certain contacts with lights that would enter their home, and this light in itself would communicate with them without changing its shape or form. As we've said as well, there are beings that take the shape of an orb. I know of some reptilian beings. You've said that there's light beings. I've always had the impression that most of these lights weren't necessarily objects, that probably they were living beings. Now, are they always in light? Do they condense in order to move that way? Or are they a thought form? I have no idea. Could very well be all of
Exactly.
those things. But yeah, I've heard of people, and I've experienced telepathy as well from, telepathy in my heart, which is a different thing that really hearing. I mean, you hear the voice, but it's more of a resonance in the heart than actually something in your ears.
I agree with you on that too. Yeah, definitely. Well, and we've all, you're not, Mark and I were worried, everyone, that we wouldn't have enough to talk about for 2 hours. And I said to him, I said, Mark, don't worry. I think we'll be okay. And look, we've got less than 3 minutes left, and we still haven't even made it to the last questions. But I am going to address this one redshift. We're not going to talk about the Dorothy Isaac case tonight, and we will. I'll have the guy on again that does the Dorothy Isaac case. Okay, redshift. We'll do that soon. And here's what I wanted to close with. Jim Bob Short said, "They tell me that telepathy is of the devil, and I asked them what prayer is then." I thought that was a very interesting comment, and I put it up here to close out the show because I want your opinion of telepathy, the devil, prayer, kind of good versus, evil. And you got 1 minute, Mark. Kind of like
Uh,
a Jeopardy answer question, okay?
I kind of believe in all of it. The devil, in the way, I think, serves the divine plan. So he creates enough resistance in order for us to overcome. I don't really think, everything is below God, guys. Don't be scared. It's not a thing between the devil and God. God is on top of all this.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's nothing to fear when it comes to that. Just watch yourself, keep your thoughts clean, and ask for assistance with these beings. They're there to help, really. I mean, everywhere, everywhere.
Yes.
They take all kinds of shapes and forms, but they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know where to go with all this now. I'm still sitting here and I'm so blown away from that story in the first hour about the craft and the plane that
I
I'm
know.
just it's going to take me until the next time we talk on the show, probably a couple months from now, for me to be able to get all this through my head.
It's been 4 years and I'm still in shock. So,
See, now, and I didn't even experience it with you, and I'm kind of like, whoa, Nellie, it's just, it's an amazing, amazing adventure you're on. Now, quickly, because we only have about 30 seconds left here, how do people get to your YouTube channel again so they can see what you've been up to?
Okay, it's MTL UFO Wave, MTL UFO WAVE. Just put that in the search on YouTube. It's my page. I'm Marc Cossette. I'd go under that name because I believe that there's a UFO wave everywhere. I'm trying to monitor the one here in Montreal, and that's about it.
Great, wonderful. And we just love your accent. All the girls love you. Just want you to know that. In chat, they're talking about how you speak French, and they all love it. So I just thought we'd sign off with that tonight. That's a nice thought to have, isn't it, Marc?
Yes.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Marc, for being here. You've been absolutely extraordinary. I am blessed to have had you. Thank you again. And everybody, will see you next week on the California MUFON Radio Show. Have a good night. Bye-bye.